The Justice League. As a kid, I loved watching the Justice League cartoon on TV, and as a grown-up kid, not much has changed. I still love the League, and thankfully there is an abundance of fantastic JLA stories out there to be had. I just wrapped up my second reading of the Darkseid War, and it inspired me to make a video guide to the essential Justice League stories that you really don't want to miss out on. So go ahead and like and subscribe, and comment down below who is your favorite JLA member and why. And let's dive into the essentials, starting with number 20, Infinite Crisis by Geoff Johns. This is when DC decided to bring the multiverse back. From 1987 to 2005, DC was only one Earth after Crisis on Infinite Earths worked to funnel the DC stories. Infinite Crisis was a clever way at bringing back all the different Earths and characters long lost. Admittedly, out of all the reads on this list, this is the hardest in terms of how much prior DC knowledge you will need. It can be a bit daunting, but it is one I've enjoyed rereading several times over and was massively important for the DC continuity we have to this day. While it is for the more advanced reader, I do have to recommend it, and it earns a solid B. Number 19, we have JLA/JSA Virtue and Vice by David Goyer and Geoff Johns. By the way, you're going to see Geoff Johns on this list more than a few times. If you ever wanted to see the JLA go up against the JSA, this is the one I'd go with. Getting together for what they hope will become a Thanksgiving tradition, some members of the JLA and JSA find themselves possessed by the 7 deadly enemies of man, forcing their teammates to battle them to protect the world. This is a great one in terms of the little character moments we've come to love, and it earns a solid recommendation of a B grade. Justice League of America: The Tornado's Path by Brad Meltzer. In the wake of Infinite Crisis, Tornado's Path serves as a solid origin story for this iteration of the League. This book does a good job of catching readers up on the character's whereabouts as part of the 1 year later event during which DC continuity jumped forward 1 year in time. Meltzer rebuilds the foundation of the League on mutual respect, friendship, and heroism around a deeper look at the Red Tornado and his newfound humanity. I love when an underrated character gets some love like this. Solid B. First entry from Grant Morrison, we have JLA: The New World Order. A new group of superheroes known as the HyperClan show up on Earth and propose to solve all of Earth's problems. They start by reseeding the Sahara and end with executing supercriminals. While controversial and definitely getting on the JLA's bad side, they draw a lot of praise and support from the everyday people, who see them as being far more proactive than the JLA, which is a more reactive group. A pretty cool read and a great start to the 90s JLA run. Grant Morrison doing what he does best. I'd give it a solid B+. JLA Year 1, numbers 1 through 12. JLA Year 1 was a 12-issue maxi-series that reimagined the origins of the Justice League of America for the rebooted post-crisis environment. In this restructured continuity, Wonder Woman was no longer a founding member of the JLA, having been replaced by Black Canary. Also, the roles of Batman and Superman are quite minimal, casting them as part of the team's support group without making them official members. It is my second favorite JLA origin story that you'll see on this list. One of the things I like about it the most is it really lets the other characters shine here, other than just Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. Give it a solid B+. Next up, Justice League of America: The Nail by Alan Davis. This is an oddball concept book that I'm really glad got off the floor. In this universe, the truck of Martha and Jonathan Kent has a tire puncture caused by a nail. This prevents them from discovering the spaceship containing the baby of Kal-El, and so there is no Superman. It's a great what-if Elseworld story, and will remind you a bit of X-Men with all the anti-meta human talk. I loved this as a kid and now, solid B+. Next up, we've got JLA: A League of One by Christopher Moeller. This is for the Wonder Woman fans. She learns of a prophecy stating that the League will perish while saving the world from an ancient dragon prophecy. In order to keep the teammates alive, she takes extreme measures and decides to take on the threat alone. Christopher Moeller drives deep into the mythos of the dragon and her abilities, Interestingly, he also has Wonder Woman subduing each member of the team in her attempt to protect them from the prophecy's outcome. Great JLA and Wonder Woman read. And would honestly make a pretty cool Wonder Woman 3, I'm just saying it now. Giving it a B+. Grant Morrison's back on the list with JLA Earth 2, a great dark gem of a graphic novel based on a modern twist of a classical comic book concept, the superheroes' evil doppelgangers from a parallel world, and reintroducing in DC Comics the multiverse cancelled by the Crisis on Infinite Earths event. Plus, I love Owlman, so this book is just amazing. The story, the art, the humor, and the lasting effect make this a must-read, and really is the most essential read, I think, when looking at the Crime Syndicate, which is the opposite of the Justice League. It's a must-read, and it earns an A-. Gee, anyone heard of this next one? Crisis on Infinite Earths, 1-12, by Marv Wolfman. You know this one. This is the first major DC event back in '86 that decided to get rid of the multiverse in the first place to make sure the comics going forward were more focused, and it ushered in the age of the single Earth DC Comics, which existed for like 2 decades. It just so happens to also be a solid story too, with some intelligent writing, big character deaths, and a lasting outcome. Classic stuff here, gets an A-. JLA Rock of Ages, which is JLA 10-15 by Grant Morrison. Darkseid has beaten the JLA and the heroes must utilize every single weapon in their arsenal to win the day. Sounds generic? Isn't generic. Before the Darkseid War, this was probably the best JLA Darkseid story we had, and it holds up very well to today. Morrison's reverence for the comic book history and willingness to go back to the tricks and tropes of previous eras gives readers a taste of alternate realities, time travel, and the fourth world. It's kind of part of a history lesson and also a celebration of the DC Universe, all in an epic Darkseid tale. Gets a solid recommendation and a score of an A-. Justice League Origin, the New 52 that is, by Jeff Johns in 2011. Let's talk about the New 52, in which the Justice League was extremely well written throughout. The whole run is amazing. But this gives an entirely different origin story set in the New 52 universe, and works really well for the start of this run. Jeff Johns really came out swinging on this one. It's funny, thrilling, and enjoyable in a way that all comics really should try to be. The Jim Lee art really helps too. Solid A-. I recommend grabbing the Absolute Edition if you can. Here's the one that prompted me to make the video, Justice League The Darkseid War Saga Omnibus. I do recommend getting the full omnibus on this one. Here we have Jeff Johns again in the New 52. I mentioned that whole run was great and it just continues here. After some solid arcs comes probably the best arc from the whole run, the Darkseid War. We got Darkseid versus Anti-Monitor, Grail versus Wonder Woman, Baby Darkseid, Jason Fabok art throughout, all of the JLA members becoming gods and rejecting their god status. There's a lot that happens in a relatively short amount of time, and the pacing is excellent. I highly recommend this bad boy. A-. How about the Tower of Babel? JLA number 42-45 by Mark Waid. This is that classic story where Batman has contingency plans for every single member of the Justice League. This lack of trust really hurts him when Ra's al Ghul discovers Batman's plans to incapacitate the League members and uses them against the League. Great story. Classic jerky Batman, classic Batman quitting the League as a result. This is a must-read for Batman canon and JLA canon, and is pretty impressive to realize that the dude dressed as a bat, with no superpowers, could have plans to take down every last JLA member. Gets an A from me. This next one is kind of Tower Babel Part 2, but most people forget about it. JLA Divided We Fall. In the aftermath of Batman's betrayal and expulsion from the group after the Tower of Babel, suddenly the team has become divided amongst themselves. Dealing with issues of trust, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, Aquaman, Martian Manhunter, and Plastic Man have to try to unite to face off against the twisted fairy tale nightmare of the Queen of Fables and the world-altering abilities of Dr. Destiny. Great character issue for all the members, but especially Plastic Man. Mark Waid doing what he does best. Gets an A from me. don't just read Tower of Babel, read this too. Up next, we got DC Comics doing what they do best, and that is being pretty dark. We got DCeased by Tom Taylor. This is the anti-life equation gone wrong. Here's an event story that you can't believe got made. Basically, everyone turns into rabid zombies from a highly contagious version of the anti-life equation. Lois Lane acts as the series narrator, detailing how the events took place over the course of a couple weeks. And it's just crazy, this crazy escalation story in which it's utterly terrifying seeing these powerful heroes decimate the world as we know it. I thought that it would be gimmicky, and since then I've reread it like 5 times, even though it's still a pretty new book. Definitely an A from me. Next up, we have Justice League of America, a single issue, number 200, A League Divided by Jerry Conway. This story is fairly balanced in that all the League members gather an equal share of attention, something that most writers kind of struggle with. It begins when 7 alien warriors calling themselves Apalaxians arrive on Earth concealed in meteors. Without fully understanding why, the original League members are driven to face off against the new League. It's a really cool old League versus the new League style story, and it's a cool Civil War-y style book that is considered a modern classic, and it gets an A+ from me. Next up, we have Kingdom Come by Mark Waid. I'm sure you were all waiting for this one to appear. This Elseworld story is a future tale that deals with the growing conflict between the out-of-touch traditional superheroes and a growing population of largely amoral and dangerously irresponsible new fish heroes. Between these two groups is Batman and his assembled team who attempt to contain the escalating disaster, foil Lex Luthor, and prevent a world-ending superhuman war. Oh, and that art though. I'm sure you've already read it, but in case not, you'll want to do it. It's an A+ from me. Next up, we have Justice League of America, number 140. Green Lantern, Hal Jordan that is the center of the attention in this tale. He's captured along with Green Arrow and Black Canary while they're defending themselves against a bounty hunter called the Manhunter. While imprisoned, it's discovered that Green Lantern destroyed what he thought was an uninhabited planet. This book does a great job of capturing guilt and shame, and it is a great classic Green Lantern story, and a JLA must-read rolled into one. A+. We're winding down here with DC The New Frontier by Darwin Cook. This is that favorite origin story that I was alluding to earlier. Smart, genuine, and with reverence to the past, DC The New Frontier is about as good as comics get. Darwin Cook shows the depth of each character and manages to create a world where even the villains are heroes. This one fires on all cylinders, and the movie remake wasn't that bad. This awesome comic gets an easy A+. Before we give you the number 1, let's take a look at some honorable mentions. Forever Evil by Jeff Johns, The Multiversity by Grant Morrison, JLA Superpower by John Arcudi, Justice League International by J.M. DeMatteis, New Year's Evil Prometheus by Grant Morrison, Justice League of America 183 through 185 by Jerry Conway, and number 1, Injustice Gods Among Us, specifically Year 1, but not exclusively, by Tom Taylor. When I went into this book for the first time, I didn't want to like it. It was based off of a video game, and I thought it would be cheesy and gimmicky, and it's just not. It's my favorite Justice League story, and it is quite expansive, but also doesn't require immense previous DC knowledge. It stands well on its own, and in Elseworld's massive saga about Superman's regime over all crime in the world versus Batman who wants to give free will back to the people. A great story that not only utilizes every Justice League member, but manages to include a good interpretation of almost every DC character ever at one point or another. I'm on my 4th read of the first 2 omnibuses, and it very well might be my favorite overall comic book arc ever, not just for Justice League. This is a well-researched book that knows its characters, and it's safe to say this should be read by all. a solid A+++++. Hope you guys enjoyed the list. Don't forget to like and comment down below, and as always, keep on hunting.